Greetings from the Jazz Cloud. I'm Richie Zellum, and I want to welcome you to the Jazz Guitar channel. In this video, I bring you the second in a series of Coltrane perspectives on using pentatonics. If you missed the first one, be sure to check it out. In it, I show you how the legendary John Coltrane pioneered the use of the common minor pentatonic in jazz by superimposing it over different chord progressions. And he did this with a specific goal in mind. Wow. By constraining his choice of notes when improvising over a given chord to only 5 notes, he found he could focus on creating melodies which would constantly emphasize certain upper extensions and intervals. Wow. Through the use of pentatonics, he developed a contrastingly different sound from that which results from the 7-note scales and chromatic approaches typically associated with bebop. Today we will continue exploring the use of pentatonics as used by the post-bop masters. In this occasion, I want to introduce you to another minor pentatonic which has a very unique and exotic sound. And I'm referring to the Japanese Kumoi pentatonic. And in case you're wondering why you need to learn yet another minor pentatonic, it's simply because no one pentatonic fits over every chord. And even when there's 2 different ones that fit over the same chord, they vary in the notes they contain and therefore the sound they create. Now, before I show you how to superimpose this scale over different chords, I want you to get a taste of what it sounds like. I especially want you to hear how it differs from the regular minor pentatonic. So to do so, next, I am going to improvise over the first 16 measures of All the Things You Are, first using exclusively the regular minor pentatonic, and then again only using the Kumoi minor. Did you notice a difference? I would say the regular minor pentatonic has more of a blues vibe, while the Kumoi has more of a Far Eastern vibe. Well, it is of Japanese origin after all. Let's hear and analyze both of them side by side. Here's the minor pentatonic. In A minor, so root, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, and root. Here's the Kumoi minor pentatonic. So, root, 2, flat 3, 5, 6. So the main difference between these 2 scales is that the Kumoi pentatonic has a tritone in it between the 6th and the flatted 3. And the inclusion of this interval really lends itself for it to be superimposed over several other chords that the initial minor pentatonic can't be used over. Before we continue, I want to add that I first learned the Kumoi pentatonic from Vincent Persichetti's 20th Century Harmony book. And there it is defined as being made up of root, the 2, the flat 3, the 5, and the 6, like I just played it. However, when doing more research on it, I found several instances online where it is defined instead as root, 2, flat 3, 5, and flat 6. And this really got me confused. So is it supposed to be with a natural 6 or a flat 6? Well, to make a long story short, after doing deeper research, I found out that the Kumoi pentatonic is derived from the tuning of the Japanese koto instrument, which has 13 strings. And it turns out that strings 9 through 13 have the 1, 2, flat 3, 5, 6 tuning, which is known as Kumoi Joshi. I hope I pronounced that correctly. The alternate tuning, which instead uses the flat 6, is extracted from strings 4 through 8. So, in a nutshell, both are correctly defined as minor Kumoi pentatonics. Nevertheless, we are going to focus on the version with a natural 6, which is the one that best fits most jazz changes. So now that I've hopefully cleared that up, I am going to start by teaching you the superimposition formulas for 6 chord types. After that, just like I did with the previous pentatonic, I will teach you how to create lines from motivic sequences. And finally, I will show you some ready-to-play 2-5-1 lines using exclusively the Kumoi minor pentatonic. And one more time, here's the Kumoi pentatonic in the key of A minor. So in the previous lesson in this series where we first covered minor pentatonics, I wasn't able to teach you how to use it over minor 2-5-1 cadences because it doesn't work too well in some of those chords. So that's exactly what we're going to focus on today because the Kumoi does lend itself perfectly. And we're going to do a 2-5-1 cadence in the key of A minor. And we're going to start with the 2 minor chord, which is going to be a B minor 7 flat 5. We always want to superimpose starting on the flat 3 of the chord. So in the case of B, it would be D. So we would play. Next we go to the 5 chord, which in this case would be an E7 altered. And we're going to superimpose the Kumoi over its flat 2 or the flatted 9. So it would sound like this. And for the final 1 minor chord, which can be a 1 minor 6 or 1 minor major 7 in this case, there is no superimposition necessary because we simply start the Kumoi over the root, in this case A. So it would be. So we have a very interesting intervallic pattern going on when we start over the 2 chord. Now, if you want to superimpose the Kumoi over a regular dominant chord, you can do it by starting it over its 5th. So if we were to play a D7, in this case a D7 9th, we start the Kumoi over its 5th, which is A. We can also superimpose the Kumoi pentatonic over a major 7 sharp 11 by starting it over the 6th of the chord. So if we have an A major 7 sharp 11, we would start it over the F sharp. Next, I want to show you how to get the Kumoi pentatonic under your fingers to derive vocabulary from it. And I believe this is best done by learning some 4-note motivic sequences. So let's simply take the first 4 notes of the Kumoi pentatonic as our motif. 1, 2, flat 3, 5. And this is probably the simplest motif that we're going to derive using this scale when we sequence it. And I'm going to superimpose it over an F sharp minor 7. So bear in mind that I'm superimposing it over its minor third, which is A minor. And it goes like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Keep in mind that the notes of the motif to be sequenced can be any combination of notes from the scale and in any order. And let's try something a little bit more complex. And this motif is now comprised of the root, the sixth played underneath the root, then we're jumping up to the flatted 3 above the root and ending it with the root. So that's the shape that we're going to sequence diatonically. And this time I'm going to superimpose it over an A flat altered dominant. So I'm starting this again in A natural, which is the flatted 2 or flatted 9 of the A flat altered chord. And this is a descending sequence. 1, 2, 3, 4. Next, I want to show you some ready-to-play minor 2-5-1 lines combining different Kumoi pentatonic motifs. But before I do, if you're interested in really getting the most out of this concept, I want to take a moment to tell you about the study package you can download. It includes a PDF with all the superimposition theory in this lesson explained, as well as 10 minor pentatonic ascending and descending sequences in regular notation and tab. Also 8 2-5-1 lines in regular notation and tab, as well as MP3s of me playing all of them. Also, a superimposition map of the Kumoi minor pentatonic to use over the changes to all the things you are. So if you have the download for part 1, you will now have 2 superimposition maps, which will allow you to combine 2 different kinds of minor pentatonics over all the things you are. And finally, a band-in-a-box file with all the lines, including a MIDI file, which you can open up with the free app MuseScore. And if you don't own Band-in-a-Box, this will allow you to loop, slow down, and even transpose all the lines to any key. All of this is available for download for a nominal contribution from jazzguitar.richiezelland.com/premium. And you will find it under the mini courses section. Most of these phrases are a combination of the different motifs in the sequences included in the PDF. This first phrase is over a 2-measure minor 2-5-1 in the key of A minor. And it goes like this. Next, let's learn a 4-measure 2-5-1 minor cadence in the key of D. And first, we're going to play one entirely in 8th notes. Now I'm I'm going to play the same notes in the previous phrase, only that I'm going to assign different rhythms to the notes, and you'll notice that it turns into a whole new phrase, you know. It has a whole new character to it and just adds the element of syncopation in there. And this is something I want you to keep in mind, because you can do it with any eighth note line. Hope the info in this lesson will come in handy, and be on the lookout for part 3 of this series on Coltrane perspectives, in which I will teach you how to use a very unique major pentatonic over all of your favorite jazz standards. As usual, I appreciate your likes, comments, and welcome your questions. And if this is your first time on the Jazz Guitar channel and you enjoyed this lesson, please subscribe and click on the notification bell icon so you won't miss any of my upcoming videos. I look forward to sharing another info-filled lesson real soon with you. So until then, be good, and don't forget to practice, practice, practice. May peace be with you.